Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. And welcome to the show, everybody. You know, I got to tell you that we would all like to have the adventure of our lifetime, and we'd also like to find out why we're here and live our passion and do exactly what it is that we want to do. However, we got one small itty-bitty problem with that. Sometimes the financial end of it doesn't work out so well, and so you're not able to live the life that you'd like to live and do the things you'd like to do because you've got to go do that, job thing. And you're not able to make some headway to get ahead. Well, we've got a gentleman here. He's got a show on the Brushwood Media Network, and it's called Iron Hawk. And his name is Joseph Lombardi. You're not related to that other Lombardi fella, are you?
Yeah, apparently my great grandfather was brothers with Vince Lombardi, so I guess it'd be my great uncle.
Oh, very nice. That would be Vince Lombardi.
That would be him,
who was the coach of the Green Bay Packers, and tons of wonderful sayings that he left behind.
If you're on time, you're late. If you're late, it's unacceptable. And if you're early, you're on time. My favorite line.
Exactly. And one of my other favorite lines was, we've never lost a game once. We've run out of time a few times, but we've never lost a game.
I like that one too.
So he was a very big optimist and a great coach, and he died way too soon. But in any event, Joseph Lombardi is here. By the way, I got to ask you, Iron Hawk, where did that name come from?
Yeah, so I started out working with contractors. My father was J.V. Lombardi Builders. He was a multimillionaire out of Fairfield, Connecticut, and ended up falling 3 stories off a ladder, lost everything. So iron represents my main market, which is blue-collar business owners, roofers, masons, landscapers, excavators, electricians, plumbers, contractors, just the backbone of America, like the iron, right? The people that work hard. And then Hawk comes in, swoops, protects, is knowledgeable. And so I wanted Iron Financial. My wife wanted Red Hawk Financial, and it took us 4 months to come up with. Just make it Iron Hawk.
I want to know who had the last word in that particular argument.
I've been married 22 years, so that would be always my lovely wife.
Yeah, because if you do what you're told, sometimes you get to do what you want.
Yeah, it's like a kid is, you do your chores 100 times. On the 100th time, they'll throw you, a piece of candy or something. The scraps.
And I really appreciate what you're doing, because my brother years ago was a roofer when he was still here, and he fell off of a 23-foot roof. And of course, he had the insurance of
nothing. Nope.
Nothing, nada. And so he spent 6 months in convalescence. And I live in the state of Washington, and they took care of him, but it cost the tune of like $300,000 to give him the operations and take care of him. But it would have been much better for him had he been insured properly in a reasonable way. So I'm glad you're doing what you're doing. There's lots of guys that are doing blue collar work that are really in need of good health insurance.
Well, yeah, I mean, that $300,000, don't mind you, is after tax. So most contractors, their assets are all liquid. It's real estate, business equity, IRAs, 401ks. So that 300 probably cost him 500 grand worth of his net worth to pay the government 200 grand in taxes, to then pay the government 300 grand for care. So, or the state government. So yeah, they get you coming and going. So I basically try and build these legal tax-free accounts using IRS code 7702 for these guys. Because not for nothing, a lot of these guys make a lot of cash, and they don't know where to put it. So
You found a way. You found a place for
I
them to put
found
it.
a spot for your cash that's not money laundering. You hear that? FCC, FINRA, yeah, it's no, it's not. So,
Somebody's going to come knocking at your door.
oh, I'm already just don't we got to mute that part out now?
Yeah, no, but it's a necessary thing because a lot of, especially small contractors who are working job to job, and I had to laugh. I had a contractor come to me the other day and say, "Well, I asked him for a bid, and he gave me a bid, and he said, well, the bid is 1,500, but if it's cash, it's 1,200. Oh,
Yep.
really? Why would that be?"
He really likes the bigger heads on the $100 bills. It just makes him feel happier inside. That would be my answer.
Yes, indeed, and he can also effectively hide that money from
How
Mr.
dare you, Kevin?
Mr. Mr. As George Harrison called it, the tax man.
Yep.
Yay,
He's
the
gonna get
tax
you. He's
man.
gonna get you, man.
Exactly right. Well, so I'm excited to talk to you because not only are you a financial guy and you work with folks, but you're also a radio guy. How
Yes,
did
sir.
all that begin?
Well, it probably began about 2 years ago when I was doing podcasts. I've done over 100 of them with over 1 million views on a bunch of different people's shows, like the one here today. And I really enjoyed being the guest because it allowed me to promote my company, promote who I'm doing, build positivity within the listeners, motivate. But I didn't have to do anything. I show up, I'm here for an hour, and I take off. And it's like, thanks, Kevin. Thanks for your platform. See you later. So I got approached by this woman, Patty, who's my co-host. Her co-host name's Eliza Diane, and she introduced me to Steven, the owner of Brushwood Media Group, who apparently is good friends with Tim Cook, the CEO Apple. And he said, "You want to run your show?" And I'm like, "Not particularly. I like just hopping on and doing my show and running. But when you're the host, you get a platform. We're able to take control. When you don't have a guest, and I'm able to talk directly to my listeners for an hour on a deep level." And that's incredibly powerful. That's a great platform when you're able to communicate on somebody. Because I mean, not for nothing, as a man, as a white man, as a white cis man, whatever the heck that means. I just heard it on social media. We're like the bottom of the totem pole, right? So it's nice to talk to my audience. There's women listeners, but a lot of them are men, and it's nice to communicate and say, hey, money's on our shoulders, for the most part. If you're the breadwinner, which most nuclear families, the man is the breadwinner. Now, there are exceptions, absolutely. I'm just speaking in generalities. As the breadwinner, it's very difficult, right? You're alone. It's all up to you. You got all the pressure, and not only to take care of you, but in my situation, I have to take care of my wife and my 3 children. And I don't know if you know how much dance costs a year, but it's like $20,000 a year just to have my 9-year-old daughter dance around. So, and she's really good. She won regionals for New England.
Oh, good for her.
So she actually, if we actually went to nationals, she got 4th place. So out of like 180 girls, she got 4th. So, she's gifted, but when you're able to talk one-on-one, it's and lifting, empowering, especially for people that have their headphones on, mowing their lawn, they're in their car, they're listening to, on a trip, they're listening to you talk about what to do with your money and how important it is to save it, and your past self, your present self, your future self, and all the things that you may know, but it's more of in the back of your mind. And when it's brought to the front of your mind, it really makes you think like, okay, I got to grow not only financially, right? I got to grow spiritually. I got to grow emotionally. I got to grow physically. I got to grow mentally. And it's Money Talk with Ironhawk is a show about money, but it's also a show about how to be positive, how to maintain different strategies, budgets. Only you can control your money, right? So it's nice to be a host like you are. We're able to give your 2 cents, and it makes you feel like how you feel, because as men, nobody gives a crud what we feel. It's just what we can provide, right?
Oh, come on. That's just a rumor.
Yeah, yeah. Our society cares so much what men think. So it's nice to go out there and just spill out your guts and your heart and your feelings, and say it in a way that it doesn't make you sound like a pansy or as a weak person, but as a real person. And that is invaluable, and you get to do that as the host because you're in charge.
The interesting thing about that is that a lot of people would say, well, you got this radio show, and I'm on like 70 different platforms, and we've got listeners, and we've got people all over the place and stuff. But the reality is, I'm sitting in a room in my studio, and sometimes I have a board op, sometimes I'm by myself. And you're sitting in your studio, or if you're listening to this somewhere in your car, on the Brushwood Media app, or any of those things, it really is a one-on-one conversation. It isn't about talking to the masses. It's about reaching each person individually and trying to help them attune to what they're doing. And you talk on a wide range of issues and thoughts that are more than just financial planning.
Yeah, I mean, it's the overview of the government's not your friend. We live in the United States of America corporation. We're enslaved. Half our labor is stolen from us every day. And what's the definition of slavery? I trade labor for nothing in return. And when your labor is stolen from you, you're receiving nothing in return. The Congress, senators, Republicans, regardless of what side you're on, they're both the same wings of the same bird. They don't represent us. You can't have 400 Congress people and 400 million people, and one Congress person represents a million people. It's just unfathomable. It's not real. So we live in basically the United States of America corporation, where you have a birth certificate number, you have social security number. It's like our slave number. And you have the federal government, state government, FICA, Medicare, unemployment, social security, federal tax, you got sales tax, you got car tax, you got property tax, you got auto tax, you got cigarette tax, alcohol tax. I mean, we are taxed to death, and we are not being represented. And so when you invest in the government, like with IRAs, 401ks, SEP Simples, pension, defer, comp, 457, any type of government sponsored account, you have Wall Street in your left pocket taking half your money in 12B1 fees, money management fee, annual account fee, mutual fund expense fee, AUM fees. Then you have the government taking the other half upon distribution of federal tax, state tax, FICA, Medicare, unemployment, social security tax. So you're effectively keeping a quarter of your retirement account. And when you look at your retirement account, you see this big old number. It's fake. It's fugazi. It's not real. Because if you were to try and turn that number, that $1 million in your 401k, into actual cash, actual dollars, you would be hard pressed to turn it into 500 grand. So there is ways that the ultra wealthy save their money. There is IRS codes, right? When Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump were on stage, do you remember that in the 2016 election? And Hillary Clinton goes to Donald Trump, hey, you're a bad orange man. You don't pay any taxes. And Donald Trump says, doesn't make me bad. It makes me smart. I use the same IRS codes that your donors use, that you had 20 years to close, and you chose not to. And that IRS code is called IRS code 7702. And what that code legally allows you to do, which you can Google it, it's the code that's embedded in the death benefit of a permanent life insurance policy. And so what the ultra wealthy do, you ever heard of the Rockefeller strategy? What the ultra wealthy do is they buy big permanent policies, they overfund them to the max, which is called the MEC, the modified endowment contract limit. And what it does, it allows these people to build legal tax-free bank accounts that they can lean and leverage anytime they want to buy all the assets in the world and pay $0 in taxes while doing it.
Interesting. And so let's talk about the taxes and stuff, and the US government and their role in our lives. I know that right now there's a lot of folks that would say the government is too intrusive, or in some cases not intrusive enough, depending on the topic that you're talking about. Whether it be, if it's abortion, they're too intrusive. If it's finances, they're well, no, if forget I said that. So, but I'm curious to know, what role do you think the government should be playing, and how do if the government isn't taking if we're not paying taxes, how do we keep up the roads? How do we have policemen, firemen, and all of those things that are necessary for us to live a nice quality life without having to worry about our house burning down?
Great question. So if you understand, the state tax in my state is 6%. The federal tax that I pay is 39.6. My state taxes is what covers my schooling, the highways, my roads. I also have town tax. The town tax I pay is my property tax. That is to the back roads, the schooling. So when you take a look at the federal government, what is their role? Where is 39.6 if, let's just say, I made $1 million a year, after deductions? Where is $396,000 going? Well, unfortunately, it's going to building bombs. It's going to killing innocent women and children overseas so we can spread democracy. It's used in backdoor deals with companies. Do you know? I just read an article that $170 million was paid in sexual assault charges at Congress, and they used our tax money to do it. You know what Diddy's going through right now, Puff Daddy? Well, our own Congress people did it, and they used our federal tax dollars to pay the hush money to the people that accused them of SA. So you have a misappropriation of funds. You have uh, um, no jurisdiction and no accountability of where these dollars are going. And don't even try to go to usdebtclock.org. Go to your computer, type in usdebtclock.org. You think that we owe $35 trillion is a lot? We owe $41 trillion in Medicare that they stole from our Medicare fund. $27 trillion they stole from our Social Security fund, and $219 trillion in U.S. unfunded liabilities, which could all be found and fact checked at usdebtclock.org on the bottom in red. So when you understand that not only are they stealing all our money, they're dipping into our past money and our future money that they earmarked and guaranteed that would be there. And they're using that to make deals, enrich themselves, drop billions of dollars over to Ukraine so that there could be war and people can die. Because at the end of the day, most people in power want low population, they want control, they want legacy and longevity, not just of their money, but of their power. Money's easy. Throw it in an irrevocable trust. It'll go to your grandkids for life. Power's not. Well, how do you maintain power if my children don't want to be in politics? So they're so concerned about building these loopholes. Do you know, in like the 1910s, 1913s, when you had to run for Senate, you had to buy your seat. And a lot of people that won couldn't even afford it. So there's a lot that goes into the government, and they're not governing us anymore. They're controlling what we can do. I mean, they're arresting people in other countries for mean tweets. They're arresting for posts on Facebook that they don't agree with. Do you know how Orwellian that is?
Well, I gotta ask you first of all, when you talk about Ukraine, if memory serves me, Ukraine was attacked by Russia. Would that not be true?
So what happened was, my belief structure is that the United States promised Russia that they would not put a NATO country within 2 countries of their border. And the United States lied, like usual, like that gas pipeline that exploded. The United States was like, we don't know what happened. And CIA documents said, yeah, we did it. So what happened was we reneged on our deal with Russia. Russia said, you are not putting NATO countries. You know how we don't like how they can send nuclear bombs right from Cuba? How far away is that from Florida? Not too far, right? So they didn't want us to have our nuclear bombs within easy distance, or maybe their defense systems that they have set up around their borders may or may not would miss one, right? We reneged on our deal. So they said, okay, if you aren't going to push back and you're going to keep spreading NATO over into our territory, which was promised not to be brought into, we are going to cause war. And of course, the United States wants to be the big bad man everybody needs to listen to. And because they think something, feel something, say something, it's got to be right because the United States is God. Well, Russia said, and they attack. And I'm not condoning this. I don't condone war. I think that's like condoning a fight, whether it's two women, two men, a man and a woman. I don't like conflict. Okay, there's always a way to get out of conflict. And again, that to me, that has to do with God, forgiveness, religion, but we don't have to go down that rabbit hole. But the war started when the United States was the aggressor and broke their promise to Russia.
How do you explain Crimea?
I think a lot of what we're being told is not the truth. Have you ever gone on TikTok and seen the world? Right? People laugh at that, right? The United States government says, what about TikTok? Don't watch it. It's China propaganda. China's spying on you. Whenever the government says something pretty clearly, it's bad. 9 out of 10 times it's good. The reason it's bad because they can't manipulate the narrative.
So we need to take a break. But when we come back, I want to ask you that there is a movement afoot in the government or in the population about how deceptive the U.S. government is, how terrible they are, the deep state, the cabal that's running things behind the scenes. And by the way, JFK Jr. did not become vice presidential candidate, by the way, and stuff. But there's a lot of that information that's going out there, and it sounds like that you are part of that camp, and I'm curious to know how you got to where you got to, because I live in Washington. We're the left coast, so we're a little bit more liberal than they are in some other parts of the country.
Right, and I'm in Connecticut, which is deep blue too. I get it. That's what you're saying. How the heck are you in Connecticut in a blue state but have these type of worldviews? And I'll definitely tell your viewers and listeners when we get back.
We'll be right back after these messages. So please, if I get to the right banner, that would be awesome. Good. Wait a minute, that's not even right. And where did? Goodness gracious! Oh, there we are. There we are. And by the way, again, we're talking with Joe Lombardi, and he is part of IronHawkFinancial.com. Go there, and he can help you. He's got a lot of tools to help you get more financially fit and live the life that you really want to live. And we'll be right back after this, so stay with us.
You're listening to Positive Talk Radio. We're going to take a short break to tell you audio and music creators about our commercial affiliate, Lyric Vids, specializing in creating amazing and engaging lyric videos. Are you looking to promote your videos in the most engaging way, but you don't have an animator and an editor? Whether you're an artist, musician, or business with a message to share, our lyric videos are designed to hook viewers and amplify your reach. Go to positivetalkradio.net/lyric vids. That's positivetalkradio.net/LYRICVIDS now to get started. Welcome back to Positive Talk Radio. We hope you enjoyed learning about our affiliate Lyric Vids, who specialize in creating captivating animated lyric videos. Now let's get back to the show.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. And we've got a great guest for you today. His name is Joe Lombardi. Yes, that famous Lombardi name is there. His great uncle was Vince Lombardi. And in any event, we're having a fascinating discussion. I'm curious to know. Well, I guess a couple things is, how did you develop the belief structure that you have? And where did it come from? And also, well, let's start there.
So I was very liberal growing up. When you grow up in poverty, you live in an attic with no running water. You eat noodles and eggs every day with ketchup and hamburger helper without the hamburger meat. You're bullied every day because you're the poor fat kid. You sort of realize that, like, hey, this world sort of doesn't owe you anything, and nobody really cares about you. I mean, when you have your own mom walk out on you when you're 4 years old, say, I'd rather drink, do drugs, and party than be a mom, then, your own grandmother says, I don't expect me to be his mom to my dad in front of me. You sort of realize that, like, okay, this is sort of kind of hard life. It's not as easy as we were believed to be on TV when we used to watch those sitcoms. So I had a very, very difficult life. And then, of course, you throw me into Wall Street, where I worked at 7 Hanover Square in Manhattan. I worked in actual Wall Street for MetLife. And the amount of cutthroat, the amount of sabotage, the amount of lying, the amount of BS to get ahead, sort of like what? Politics, right? It's trying to put somebody else in front of you and step on you to get higher because they can't elevate on their own. So they need to hurt somebody or make somebody feel inferior to make them feel inferior, feel better. So it's the life I've lived has led me to one thing, the government's not your friend, right? I don't care what you say. Do they have programs to help impoverished people? Absolutely. Would those programs be around if there was no money available? Maybe not. But I don't necessarily believe you could pick yourself up by your bootstraps, that whole crazy narrative. But I do believe that we're equal. I think we're all God's children. I'm not here to get religious on you or anything, but I think we're all made equal. I know I didn't choose to be male. I didn't choose to be white. I didn't choose to be Italian. I didn't choose to be born to Nancy or choose to be born to Joe that I know of. My dad's name's Joe. So I knew that, being put here, I didn't ask for it. So if that's the case, why is somebody more powerful than me when same thing was happening to him? Unless he's some lizard person or alien, which no, I don't believe that's true. But so if we're all equal, why is there a power source? What gave that person their power over me? I didn't voluntarily give that up. But somebody with a gun can come tell me that I have to pay them. Some guy with a gun can tell me where I need to be and where I can't be and what's theirs and what's not mine. And it came to a point where it's very and again, I know we need a power structure. I know we need police. I support the police. My best friend, I got him a job as a police officer, and I'll be his best man at his wedding next year in Aruba. But there's a level of when you go to politics and politicians where you look at history, right? I think me learning history sort of changed my worldview. What is the biggest killer in the world besides religion, right? Go figure. It would be world governments. World governments have slaughtered their own people to the tune of over 100 million people, documented. Just read a history book.
Oh, sure.
And so when you give power to a body and then you try to disarm a population, then the next thing ultimately that happens 100% of the time is slavery and murder by the government on its own citizens. So
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, do you, as an example, we have got a gun problem. Would you agree that we have got a gun problem in the United States? Let me put it another way.
Shoot, yeah.
Would you agree that we have a people using gun problem in the United States?
I believe we have a mental illness problem. That's like saying we have a spoon problem if you're 400 pounds. I think it really comes down to mentality. I believe it comes down to the educational system is one of the worst in the countries. We are the number one spender on education. But why are we 27th in math, 31st in science, 34th in social studies? Why are our test scores so low? Why is it that the white man is not the one who's making all the money, but the Asians are and the Indians are? They're almost doubling what the white man makes on average. So when you look at the numbers, because men lie, women lie, and numbers don't lie, my thought process is, hey, I have a gun. I have 3 children. I have a 9-year-old daughter. I have a wife that has pancreatitis, sciatica, health problems. Someone came in. She can't defend herself if someone wants to rape her. I can't defend. My daughter can't defend herself at 9. So I'm not strong enough. I sit behind a computer 12 hours a day selling annuities, IULs, and IRS strategies to clients around the country. I'm not work out. I don't know take karate and self-defense classes. So if somebody came in to harm me or my family, because I make a ton of money, I drive a 600 horsepower Jaguar. I just bought my wife a brand new Escalade because she wanted it, not because I wanted the attention, in cash. If something happens, how am I going to defend myself if I don't have a gun? How am I going to defend my daughter if I don't have a gun? Now, I've had a gun in my house for the last, 15 years. It never came out of its gun case on its own and walked over to me and started shooting. I would have to mentally go there, pick up the gun, think it's a good idea, and then go execute somebody because I chose that it was a good idea. So is it the gun's fault that people die just as much fault as it the fork and spoon's fault? You have diabetes or you're overweight? That's how I look at it. It's like, are guns a problem? Well, I know that if guns are in the hands of good people, like police officers, that we're safe. So, and I know that other countries that have strict gun laws, they still get guns. And you know what's the crazier part? If they don't get guns, they'll get a knife. Do you see the guy that about 2 years ago went to the mall and killed like 15 people with a machete?
Sure.
So, did it have to be a gun? No, it could be a machete. What if somebody brought a machete to school? Right? So it can't say, oh, it's to save the children. Well, why do we have no gun zones where in school you can't have guns? Wouldn't that be the first place? You put sheriffs and security with people with guns at banks. Is the government telling us that money is more important than our children? Because banks aren't no gun zones. There's people walking around with guns all day long protecting the money, but our own children, the government doesn't think it's a good idea to put armed guards there, but they put armed guards for cash.
Well, they do put armed guards in some schools.
Very rarely. 100% of banks have armed guards. 1% of schools have armed guards. Most schools are protected by a sign that says gun-free zone. That's like if the bank said, please don't steal our money zone. And then everyone would just, walk into the bank, deposit their money, leave it there, not take it. It's baloney. The government has a right or an obligation to protect our children. They're choosing not to. They do it with their money. Oh, believe me, them politicians, you go try and go steal their money, they will shoot you to oblivion. And guess where the rich people put their kids? Is it in public schools? No, they go to private schools.
But, well, and you do realize that private schools have as much problems as public schools. You get that, right? Bullying is terrible. There are people that put kids in private schools who get kicked out of public schools. My nephew was part of that because the people who have money can put their kids anywhere, but that doesn't mean their kids are a good kid, so they can still do those sorts of things. So we need a better solution to all of this stuff. And because we had kids in my class who got thrown out of other schools. And so the parents had to put them somewhere. And so they ended up in a private school that they had to pay money for. So there are, there's two sides of things to everything, Joe. And first of all, let me back up. I'm sorry that your childhood was screwed up. I'm sorry that your mom was addicted and stuff, and it was very hard for you. We need to take a break. When we come back, and when we come back, we're going to talk, Joe, about how he's working to make a difference in the world in a positive way, because you seem to me to be a spiritual man and a man who is interested in helping all people live to their best degree, and that's why they call it Positive Talk. So I'm not allowed to go down that rabbit hole. So, Joe, and by the way, I just want you to know, even though you and I disagree on a lot of stuff, I appreciate you, and I appreciate you coming here. So we'll be right back after this important message.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. As you gather with family and friends who love and support you, look closer. There are youth right in your community who don't have the home, warmth, and healing you have. So look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. And for 50 years, Covenant House has worked relentlessly to keep them safe and protected. Tonight, 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed. And tomorrow, they will wake up surrounded by love. They get clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In sites across America to help them fulfill the great promise of their lives. So look closer at Covenant House. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
And welcome back to Positive Talk, more or less. My name is Kevin McDonald. Joe Lombardi is with us. Go to ironhawkfinancial.com and he can help you. You know, and there are two things. There's a bigger thing, and then there's also the smaller thing, which is our own personal welfare and our own health benefits and financial situation and all of that. It's imperative that you take care of your family, take care of your financial situation, and the rules are what they are. But before we continue too far, I wanted to ask you, in your world, in your mind, is a Roth IRA a better thing than a regular IRA? And can you have significant tax savings over time if you are in a Roth IRA?
Yeah, so the Roth IRA is the best strategy that the U.S. government offers us here in the United States. And it is still illiquid. It's still high feed. It still has FILO, first in, last out. It's the best option when you take a look at what the government can offer you, but it only has a $7,500 max annual contribution. If you make over like 180 grand, you can't even contribute at all to it. So there's actually a strategy that, in my opinion, is superior in all ways. It's called the rich person's Roth. And no, you don't have to be rich to do it. I have clients who do $200 a month. But what that is, if you were to go to Google, type in rich person Roth Forbes, there's actually articles written by certified financial planners, certified public accountants that are telling you that the rich person's Roth's better than a Roth. But if you had to take an option between a Roth or an IRA, I 1,000,000% would do the Roth if that was your only two options.
And explain what a Roth is for those that have no earthly idea what we're talking about.
Sure, which is sad. We're in school for 14 years and they don't teach us the most basic financial
They don't teach you how to
literacy.
write a check
I
or
know,
balance
balance
a
a
bank
checkbook.
book.
And it's all done on purpose. Ignorant people pay a ton of money in taxes and don't even realize it. So if they want you smart enough to work and dumb enough to pay half your money in taxes without asking any questions. That's why they train employees. They don't train personal thought. They don't train positive mindset. That's why we need Kevin here speaking positively, even though I apologize if I haven't been the most positive person in regards to what's going on in our country. I'm just real, and we can make changes if we chose to. But so the Roth is basically a type of account that accepts after tax money. And the lie that was sold to the American people by the government and Wall Street, because they colluded, is pretty simple, is write off your money, save money in taxes this year and every year, and then just pay taxes at a lower tax rate later. Well, what they're basically telling you with that, if you really look into it, which I know a lot of people, again, our country doesn't even teach us to critically think. If you look into critically what the government is telling us is you're going to make the most money ever made in your 40s, 50s, 60s. Then you're going to take all your money out of retirement and you're going to be in a way lower tax bracket, which means you're going to be living impoverished. The lower money you earn, the lower your tax bracket is. So
Correct.
by retiring at your highest income level in your entire life, and then going back to living in a super low tax bracket is saying your goal by doing a 401k is to write off your money when you're making a lot of money and then retirement, live broke. That's your strategy. And a lot of my clients don't like that strategy because they understand of something called inflation. And if they had a Roth IRA, after 59 and a half, as long as it's been enforced for 5 years, they're able to take full distributions tax-free, their principal and their growth.
Right.
IRA, you're only so basically think of it like this for simple, because I know this goes over 99% of people's heads. With an IRA, you get to write off your principal, but then you're taxed on your principal and your growth.
Correct.
So you're getting one, giving up two. Instead of a Roth IRA, you don't get to write off your principal, but your principal and your growth are tax-free. You're giving up one and you're getting two. And when you take a look at some of this thing called inflation that we've all been dealing with since COVID pretty badly, our US dollar is down 27%. Our debt's up 48% since 2020. If you understood what the long-term implications are, you would realize that the Roth or the after tax, which is only 3 ways to legally invest $1, have it grow tax-free, and have it come out to you tax-free. One is a Roth. The other one is a municipal bond. And the other one is a cash value life insurance plan. So if you wanted to invest money in something, my first goal is, if you don't make a ton of money, max your Roth. If you have a family, if you have children, take a look at a index universal life, or if you're super conservative, a whole life plan, but make sure it's designed right. 90% of agents are going to over build these plans in life insurance because that's how they make their commission. So, and they're going to try and sell you a B carrier that pays them even more commission. So again, just like used car salesmen, there's good ones and there's bad ones. Just like financial advisors, financial planners, accountants, CPAs, attorneys, there's good ones and there's bad ones. So it's trying to find that good financial advisor, that good financial planner, that good insurance agent, that good investment guy, that he can build it the right way with the right carrier, right riders, right structure. And I can reduce the fees inside the thing by 70%. So it's sort of like if I had a used car that I took in for trade for 20 grand and I try and sell it to you for 30, that would be a little obnoxious. Does it happen? Absolutely. What I do is, because I work in volume, I'll sell you that used car that came in for 20,500 bucks. I'll make a couple bucks. You're happy. You're in a better position. And most of your money in the account's going into your investment, not into the cost of the insurance or my pocket and commission.
You know, one thing that is also something that a lot of people don't know that I just want to share with them as far as going and buying a new car. There's something called a suggested retail value. And then a lot of dealerships will put a second sticker on it. Now, when you put the second sticker on it, and they'll say, oh, this is the added and the things and the stuff and the bells and the whistles and all the stuff, we don't believe it. When you walk into a car dealership, and because I did this to 2 of them, and one of them tried to add it in, and the other one said, no problem, it's gone. And you say, when you look at the second sticker, that could be as much as, if you buy a $30,000 car, it could be as much as $4 or $5 grand. In addition to that. So if you say, I'm sorry, I'm not paying the second sticker, and they hedge a little bit, leave. Because eventually, if they want your business, they'll come around. But the second sticker is purely designed for a profit, at least as far as I'm concerned. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I know a story by somebody who's very close to me, who at this time had a cocaine problem, and he was working at a car dealership, you know, in the 90s, like most car dealerships were. It was all like Miami Vice type style. And they came in to buy a Buick, and they wanted it red, right? So it was a white car. And this person, I'll leave him nameless because I don't want to get him in trouble. Let's say the car was 10 grand. He said, okay, we can get it in red, but it's going to cost $8,000. Right. And the woman was like, oh, okay, we can get it in red, 8,000 more. Sure. My brother takes it to Mako, or not my brother, but the guy takes
whoever it is,
whoever that may have been, takes it to Mako for $299. And then pockets the $7,700 in difference of the Mako cost and what he charges poor woman. So yes, there's bad sales guys out there, and just be careful. 100%.
Well, I hope your brother doesn't listen to this, because I don't think he will. Very unique if he does.
I have more than one, so good luck figuring out which one it is.
So, well, again, we're talking with Joe Lombardi, and go to his website, which is ironhawkfinancial.com. And also, he's on the Brushwood Media Network at Tuesday afternoon at what time Eastern?
7 p.m. Eastern.
7 p.m. Eastern, which, if you're on the West Coast like me, or the East Coast, as a lot of people call it, or no, the left coast, excuse
The
me,
left coast, yeah.
the left coast, then he would be on at 4 p.m. our
That's
time.
correct.
So which is absolutely drive time. So it's every Tuesday afternoon and stuff like that. When we come back, because we need to take it's just a 30-second break. Everybody calm down. Because this is a fun educational experience that we're having. And Joe, we'll be right back right after this. Stay with us.
Last week, Brandon met a girl on a dating app. One day after work, he finally found the courage to ask her out. No answer. He started to panic. Was he being too pushy? Maybe it was too...
Hey, sorry I didn't respond. I was driving. I would love to go on a date. How does tonight sound?
Brandon tried to play it cool, but inside he knew. A girl so smart, so responsible. She must be a keeper.
Well, we're talking with Joe Lombardi, and he is with Iron Hawk Financial, and the name of his show is Iron Hawk
Money Talk with Iron Hawk.
Money Talk with Iron Hawk. That's right. That's right. And are you enjoying yourself doing it?
It is fun. It's a little stressful being the host because you got to find these guests. You got to set a lot of time. I pay a lot of money. I'm up to, I think my co-host and the shows cost me over $3,000 a month. And I'm just trying to provide as much value as I can to the listeners, with trying to help them save money, help them wake up, that, maybe this world isn't what we think it is. And maybe there's some things that happen behind closed doors, hence Epstein Island, Diddy parties, that maybe happen in the financial industry that we have to be aware of and we have to protect ourselves from.
Well, and with that, I want to, first of all, I want to say, if you're spending that kind of money, you deserve to be supported in that. I'm spending an equal amount of money like that. And so if you want to give a donation to Joe or to me, you can send it to me and I'll give it to Joe. That's the finder's fee, of course, and the other fees that are be charged. He'll get 10% on the dollar, but hey, a dollar is better, or a nickel is better than nothing.
It sounds like March of Dimes. 90% of it goes in the CEO's pocket. The other 10% is actually what they're marching for.
Exactly. Okay, Joe, we're going to run out of time. We've just got a few minutes left.
Oh, we're good. My appointment rescheduled.
Oh, okay. And so I want you to, an angel's going to come down and tap you on the head with the wand and say, okay, Joe Lombardi, you're in charge of the world. Tell me what you do.
Just like they signed a treaty in Antarctica with all 38 countries signing it, I would like to have a treaty signed of no wars. And I would like this neocon society that promotes wars and death and famish and suffering to be squashed. I would like to live not kumbaya, we all hold hands on, but I would want more of a peaceful life, peaceful in regards to our school systems actually teaching their citizens what's important, not what enslaves them and keeps the powerful in power, but actually take what the powerful people do and teach their citizens what they do, how they do it, and not worry about competition. See, the reason why the ultra wealthy don't teach you how to be wealthy, because that's less wealth than they would have. The ultra powerful don't teach you how to be powerful because then you would challenge them, right? And an old lion wouldn't teach a new lion to fight him to try and take his throne. So I would definitely come up with a way where we can bring more education and power. Everything's upside down in this world. I definitely would try to non-violent crimes. You don't go to jail because that creates more slave labor for somebody 10 years ago that was just smoking a doobie and now they're in jail for 5 years. I think that's insane, so that they can just make license plates and work out of jail to make money. And I would alleviate the financial incentives that's in medicine, where the cure for cancer, I believe, was already made. I believe that they push experimental drugs on us, and I would definitely get rid of all trademarks, so that somebody can't hold the trademark for cancer that was sold to them and then not give it out there and then sell you high priced chemotherapy that doesn't necessarily solve the problem. So I would take away the negative things in finance. I would make world peace, and I would spread the power around more fairly. Not necessarily like we live in a socialistic society, but there would be a level in a perfect world. Socialism works, and unfortunately, our world isn't perfect, and that's why it has never worked when it's been tried. But I would ideally would want something like that system.
Well, but I'm willing to tell you that we are a partially socialistic society. If you look at Medicare, you look at Social Security. In if this was a pure capitalistic society, if you didn't make it, you'd be starving on the street, and that would be okay with people. And I played at the bottom of the hour the Covenant House, and
Yeah, I
it's
saw that.
important that we understand that this is a goofy country when we have 3 million kids that are either living, and you were one of them, and I applaud you for surviving it and reaching where you are today, but living in poverty or homeless or in foster care that may not be the best situation and stuff. So we've got a lot of work to do, and I applaud you for making us think, because it's really good. But here's one thing that I wish everybody would take note about this. In the last presidential election, we had more people vote than had ever voted before in a presidential election ever. It was 62%.
Wow.
It means there are 38% of eligible voters, not people who should not be voting, like illegal aliens and that sort of thing, illegal immigrants. They're not aliens. If they were, they would make the world a lot better, probably. Uh, but illegal immigrants and stuff. But if everybody voted, could you imagine? I just would love your opinion on if 100% of the electorate actually got motivated and voted. What do you think it would do to the political landscape?
We would be 100% Democrat, in my opinion.
I couldn't agree more. I think
Like everything would be Democrat. Republicans' way of life would die because the people that couldn't afford to get there, the people, and whether it's true or not, the Democrats run on world, they run on what is it called? Globalists, right? We all work together in the world. Republicans run more on a one country. Like we still have to worry about other countries, defend ourselves, stuff like that. And again, I think they're both wings of the same bird. I don't think it matters, to be honest, who's voted in or not. I mean, I made a lot of money under Biden. I made 7 figures a year under Biden, and I made 7 figures a year under Trump. So as my financial landscape, did it matter? No. What was different is, Trump had the warp speed of a medication that had the time, and then to cure. And then my best friend, who has 2 young daughters, he had the shot, the jab, and he can't lift his arm for the rest of his life. 38 years old, can't lift his arm over his head. So he's never going to be able to pick up his daughters, and give them hugs or anything again. So, but he's the one that came up with it, right? So I can't be mad at the Democrats for not doing that either. So it's like you sort of look at it. I don't think it matters, to be honest. I think it's just another way for them to separate us, divide us by race, gender, religion, politics, color, height, weight, eye color, sports teams, religion. It's just another category to divide us, because if we came together, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Ants, but when the grasshoppers were talking in that Disney cartoon, and yes, I have 3 kids. I watch all the Disney cartoons
again and again.
When the grasshoppers were saying, if those ants knew they outnumbered us 1,000 to 1, we'd be dead, because the grasshoppers were the one controlling the ants, enslaving the ants, having them do whatever. I feel like that's how we are in our country. And even worse in other countries.
I tell you what, I'm looking forward to the day when the gospel according to Gene Roddenberry comes to pass.
Yes, I'm definitely looking for a day of when we have more positivity. I think when they took God out of schools and everything, I think there's definitely devil worshipers. We know that, and there's definitely God worshipers. When you take the God worshipers out, the devil worshipers come. But the problem now is when they try to put God back in school, now the devil groups want to come. Did you see that article?
No.
So it was literally they wanted to bring God back into all these schools, and then guess who showed up? The Satan worshipers, the Luciferian worshipers said, well, if God's back in school, now we're going to have Satan Club. And that sort of squashed that idea. But I think that was a big turning point in our history from what I read, and whether it's true or not, assuming it's, the history is mostly true, right?
Well, it depends. Now you're opening up a can of worms that we just clearly don't have time for. Because there is lots and lots of stuff out there that may be true, may not be true. I will tell you this, that if 100 people voted, or 100% of the people voted, it would, at least we would have a representative democracy at that point, and everybody would have an opportunity, and probably get rid of the electoral college at the same time. But that's just me. But Joe Lombardi, it's been a pleasure having you on the show, and I love your viewpoints. I love the fact that you're willing to say your viewpoints in some cases. But Ironhawk Financial is where you go.com, and you find out about him. He really can, and he's got a show on the Brushwood Media Network Tuesdays at 7:00. He really can help you. As a matter of fact, he's busy. It's 7:00 his time, and he's working till 9:00 tonight. He's so busy. So I really appreciate your time being here, and I look forward to talking to you again. Do you have anything else you'd like to add before we wrap this little episode up?
Yeah, I mean, I understand this is positive talk. Your listeners will think I'm like the most negative person ever, but the rule of thumb is that, if you try to protect yourself, you try to look deep into things, you find some things that can help you long term. And that's what I did with the financial industry, and I just uncovered what the ultra rich do, and I just tell the average person what they need to do. If any of your listeners would like any of my books, I've written and published 3 books: Being Your Own Bank, There's a Better Way Than a 401k, and Long-Term Care Without Long-Term Pains. Just write an email to Joe at Ironhawk Financial. That's JOE at iron like the metal, hawk like the bird, financial.com. Just put free books. I'm not going to bother you. We don't have to meet. It's going to be free. I'll send you a PDF with them. I'm just trying to get this knowledge out there and help as many people as I can. So again, if you want my books, Joe at Ironhawk Financial, send an email. It just says free books. Other than that, let's just try and help people.
And the reality is, Joe, is I do not particularly care what your political views are, but you said the 2 magic words right there is help people. And as long as you're interested in creating a system by which we can help people live the best lives possible, I'm all in. So sign me up, young man. I'm way too old to start saving now because I'm on the other end, but it's great to have you here, and I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for allowing me your platform. And again, we don't have to agree on anything, but I do agree you're a great guy, and I heard great things about you, and I really appreciate you allowing me to be on your show.
Lies, all lies. Thank you, and it certainly didn't come from Trump. I can tell you that. But thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. Go to his show Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time and 4 p.m. Pacific, and find out all about him. And he might make you mad. He might make you rich. I don't know which, but
probably both.
Hopefully both. Hey, young man, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Kevin.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Our purpose is to provide everyone with a positive, entertaining, and educational experience. I would love your feedback and comments about the show, including possible topics and great guest suggestions. Please email me at kevin@kmmedia.pro. And remember, be kind to one another, because each other's all we've got.